My own daughter called me a washed-up nobody who had overstayed his welcome in her future home. My name is Arthur Sterling, and for the last 3 decades, I've been quietly building an empire Chloe, my daughter, never once tried to see. She demanded my $4 million Seacliff Point home for her billionaire fiancé, broadcast her intentions to her 600,000 Instagram followers, and gave me a single day to clear out my things and vanish. What she didn't realize was that I didn't just own that house, I also owned the luxury apartment she was so certain was hers. And by the next morning, both would be gone. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply picked up my phone and made 3 precise calls. If you're happening to watch this, do me a favor and subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because this story really began 30 years ago with a promise I made to myself about the crucial difference between handing someone the world and teaching them how to value a small piece of it. That promise was about to cost my daughter more than she could ever possibly fathom. When most people look at me, they see the exact same man my daughter, Chloe, sees. A guy in his late 50s driving a 20-year-old Dodge Ram with faded paint and close to 200,000 miles on the odometer. The kind of man who buys his Kirkland brand flannel shirts at Costco and shows up to fancy dinner parties with a $20 bottle of wine when everyone else is bringing something that costs $300. Chloe Sterling, 27 years old, a digital influencer with a following the size of a small city, and utterly convinced her old man is a social liability. "Dad, you honestly look homeless," she told me just last month when I showed up at her birthday party. Julian's friends are going to think I crawled out from under a rock. Julian Croft Jr., scion of a real estate dynasty. A family empire valued at a cool $250 million. He drives a $400,000 McLaren and wears timepieces that cost more than my first house. The first real clue that I was losing my daughter came about 6 months ago. She started casually dropping the phrase, "the family property," when talking about my Seacliff Point house. Soon, it became my future inheritance. And then, finally, it was just my house. "When Julian and I get married, we're obviously going to need the beach house," she declared over a dinner I was paying for. "You can find something smaller, something more suitable." Suitable, that word burrowed under my skin. The second clue arrived when she posted an Instagram story from my own living room captioned, "Dealing with some family friction. Some people just refuse to understand their place anymore." The comment section was a slaughter. Her followers, her so-called fans, were calling me a gatekeeping boomer dad who was holding her back. Holding her back. One comment read, "Girl, it's your birthright, just take what's yours. What does an old guy need a beach house for anyway?" Chloe took screenshots of the most vicious comments and sent them to me. "See, even strangers get it," her text read. I never replied to those messages, I just quietly saved them. What Chloe doesn't know, or maybe just never cared to notice, is that I've been watching her Instagram stories for months. Watching her flaunt the penthouse apartment that I pay $10,000 a month for. The $40,000 Chanel bag I bought her as a graduation present. The $90,000 Porsche Macan lease that is automatically deducted from my bank account each month. In her curated online world, she earned every bit of it. I was just the fortunate guy who stumbled into one inherited house and somehow, miraculously, managed to keep the lights on and fund her lavish lifestyle. My dad's sort of a fixer-upper type. I once overheard her telling Julian's mother at a charity gala last spring. You know, blue-collar roots. He does his best, but he doesn't quite grasp how things operate in our social sphere. Our social sphere. As if she'd laid a single brick of the foundation she was so proudly standing on. Julian, apparently, found this narrative endearing. "It's so authentic," he remarked to his buddies. "Well within my earshot. Chloe keeps it real, you know, despite her advantages. Her advantages, the ones that had seemingly sprung from thin air. But the real breaking point wasn't the snide remarks, the casual dismissal, or even the staggering sense of entitlement. It was what unfolded 3 weeks ago when Chloe brought Julian to my house for dinner. They strolled in as if they held the deed. Julian's eyes immediately began scanning the room, measuring walls, talking about maximizing the oceanfront exposure and upgrading the finishes to something contemporary. "The kitchen needs a complete gut job," Chloe chimed in, nodding eagerly. "Maybe we can get the architects to draw up some plans while Dad's still living here." While I'm still living here, in the house I built from the ground up. As they were leaving, Chloe turned to me. "Dad," she said, a serious expression on her face. "Julian and I have been talking. We're prepared to take over the property management. You've done your bit, but it's time for people who understand modern real estate to handle this. People who understand modern real estate." I just nodded slowly and said nothing. That night, Chloe had absolutely no idea what she had just set in motion. The text message arrived at 7:30 the next morning. "Dad, Julian and I have made a decision. We need you out of the beach house by next Friday. We're having the locks changed and the renovation crew is starting. I've already messaged a realtor friend to help you find a place more suitable for your budget." My budget. The budget she was so certain she understood. I called her right away. She picked up on the fourth ring, her voice laced with annoyance. "Chloe, we need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. I'm 27 years old, Dad. I'm about to get married and I have to start building my life. You can't seriously expect me to wait around forever for you to make space for me." "Make space for you? In my own home?" Chloe actually laughed. A short, sharp, dismissive sound. "Dad, let's be real. You can't afford the upkeep on a $4 million property with whatever savings you've got. The property taxes alone must be crushing you. This is for the best, for everyone, whatever savings I've got. Property taxes that must be crushing me. Chloe, have you ever wondered how I afford this house? Inheritance, wasn't it? Grandpa left it to you. Look, Dad, I'm grateful for everything you've provided, but it's time for me to think about my future. Julian and I have actual plans." Actual plans, unlike whatever she thought I'd been doing for the last 30 years. And what if I refuse to leave? "Dad, don't make this uglier than it has to be. Julian's father is a top property lawyer. He says squatters' rights don't apply in family disputes. And since you never bothered to put the house in a trust or anything smart like that, we can easily work something out on the legal side. Squatters' rights. In my own house. I'm going to need to see these legal options in writing." "Fine. Julian is having some papers sent over this afternoon. Just try to remember, Dad, we're trying to do this the nice way. Don't force us to get the attorneys involved." She hung up. I sat there in my kitchen, staring out at the Pacific Ocean through windows I've watched the sun rise through for almost 20 years, and it hit me. My daughter genuinely believed she was doing me a favor. The papers arrived by courier at 2 p.m. sharp. They were printed on beautiful, thick stationery with the embossed letterhead of Croft Legal, Julian's father's firm. The language was impeccably polite, but the message was crystal clear. I had 30 days to transition ownership of the Seacliff Point property to Chloe, or face formal legal proceedings to resolve the inheritance dispute. Inheritance dispute. For a house I bought with my own two hands. The letter even laid out a detailed timeline. Week 1. Pack personal belongings. Week 2. Coordinate with Chloe's realtor to find appropriate alternative housing. Week 3. Finalize property transfer documents. Week 4. Complete move-out. They had even gone so far as to calculate my estimated living expenses based on typical retirement income for someone of your professional background. The figure they proposed was a slap in the face, but the paragraph that truly captured my attention was the last one. "We understand this transition may be emotionally challenging, but we are confident this arrangement serves the long-term interests of all parties, including your own financial stability." My own financial stability. They were going to save me from financial ruin by taking my house. I read the letter 3 times. Then I walked calmly to my office and opened the one filing cabinet I've kept locked for years, the one Chloe had never even glanced at. Inside, the documents were exactly where I'd left them. Apex Coastal Properties Incorporation papers, property acquisition records for over 200 sites, bank statements, a Fortune magazine article from 2 years prior titled "The Phantom Moguls of Coastal Real Estate." I laid everything out neatly across my desk and took a series of clear photos with my phone. Then I made a list of the calls I needed to make. First call, Eleanor Vance, my attorney for the past 25 years. She answered instantly. "Art, what is it? You sound different." "Eleanor, I need you to draft some documents for me, and I need them yesterday." What kind of documents are we talking about? The kind that will teach my daughter the very stark difference between an inheritance and an assumption. Eleanor was silent for a beat. How fast is yesterday? 24 hours. And Eleanor? Make damn sure they're ironclad. I have a feeling this is about to get very public. Second call, Michael Chen, VP of Operations at Apex Coastal Properties. Art. We weren't expecting to hear from you until the quarterly board meeting. Plans have changed, Michael. I need you to fast-track the Harrison Group offer, both Seacliff Point properties. I want the full asking price, cash only, and I want it closed within 12 hours. 12 hours? Art, that's aggressive. I know it's aggressive, and I know it's possible because we've done it twice before. Make it happen, Michael. Third call, Dr. Susan Albright, the family therapist Chloe and I had seen for a few sessions last year. Dr. Albright, it's Arthur Sterling. I need to book an emergency session for tomorrow morning, and I'm going to need you to meticulously document everything we discuss. By the time the sun began to set, the gears were turning. Chloe had no earthly idea what was about to happen. The dinner party was Julian's idea, of course. A small, intimate gathering, he'd called it. Just close friends and family to celebrate our engagement. 23 people, milling around my living room, sipping wine that cost more than my monthly truck payment, chatting about hedge funds and charity galas and their vacation homes in Telluride. Chloe was wearing a $30,000 engagement ring Julian had given her that afternoon. She couldn't stop posting Instagram stories, flashing the ring with my beach house, our beach house, as she was now calling it in her captions, as the perfect backdrop. I arrived right on time, carrying a bottle of red wine I'd picked up at the grocery store, $19.99. The cashier had given me a funny look, as if I was making a terrible mistake. Dad! Chloe rushed over, but I could see the flicker of panic in her eyes. You made it! Wouldn't miss it for the world, I said, handing her the wine. Congratulations on the engagement. She took the bottle and without missing a beat passed it to Julian's mother, Diana Croft. Thank you so much, Art. We'll just put this with the others. Diana glanced at the label and gave me the tight, polite smile that wealthy people reserve for the quaint efforts of the poor. How thoughtful. Julian materialized at Chloe's side, wearing a watch that could probably fund a 4-year college education. Art, great of you to come. Chloe's been telling everyone how smoothly the house transition is going. House transition, I repeated, letting the words hang in the air. Funny, I don't recall agreeing to anything. The low hum of conversation around us dipped. Not enough for it to be obvious, but just enough for me to know that ears were perking up. Chloe's smile tightened. Dad, we talked about this. Julian's father already sent over the paperwork. I read the paperwork, I said, my voice calm and even. I have some questions. Julian stepped a little closer, a posture of friendly authority. What sort of questions? My father is exceptionally thorough. Legal questions, I said, mainly about ownership and inheritance. Diana Croft, Julian's mother, reappeared at our side, holding a glass of wine that most certainly did not come from my bottle. Is there some sort of problem, Arthur? Chloe looked absolutely mortified. No problem at all. Dad's just being cautious. Cautious about what? Diana's voice had that crisp, impatient tone wealthy people use when the less fortunate aren't complying quickly enough. About signing over the deed to a house I've owned outright for nearly 20 years, I replied. The room got noticeably quieter. Julian let out a short, condescending laugh. Art, I think there's been a slight misunderstanding. The house has been in Chloe's family for generations, right? This is just about making the paperwork official for her. Actually, I said, looking him straight in the eye, I bought this house in 2011 with my own money. Chloe's face flushed a deep crimson. Dad, stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. How am I embarrassing myself by stating a simple fact? Because everyone here understands how family legacies work, Diana said smoothly, stepping in. It's quite common for the older generation to feel an attachment to a property even when it's time to pass it down. Feel an attachment, as if I were a sentimental tenant who had overstayed his welcome. Mrs. Croft, I said, turning to her, what would you estimate this house is worth? Chloe mentioned $4 million, I believe. A lovely spot. And what would you estimate my annual income is? Diana looked flustered. I really couldn't possibly say. Take a guess, I pressed. Based on my truck, my clothes, the wine I brought, what do you think a man like me makes in a year? Chloe grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Dad, please stop this. No, I'm curious, I continued, my voice carrying a little further now. I'm curious how everyone here thinks I've been affording the property taxes on a $4 million house for the past 2 decades. The taxes alone are nearly $50,000 a year. Julian frowned. Your father mentioned the inheritance covered all the property expenses. What inheritance would that be? I asked. The room was definitely listening now. All other conversations had ceased. People were pretending to check their phones, but their eyes were glued to us. Chloe's voice turned sharp. Dad, you're making a scene. I'm asking a simple question about my own home, which I purchased with money I earned. What money? Julian's voice had a hard edge to it now. Art, no offense, but Chloe mentioned you're more or less retired. Property maintenance, insurance, utilities, where is that money coming from? The question everyone in the room was thinking, but that only Julian was crass enough to ask. That's a very good question, I said, turning to my daughter. Chloe, why don't you tell Julian where you think the money comes from? Chloe looked like a cornered animal. I don't... Dad, we don't need to get into your personal finances at a party. Oh, I think we do, I replied. Since Julian's father is so worried about my financial stability, and since you've already announced to the world that this house needs to go to people who understand real estate. Diana set her wine glass down. Perhaps this conversation would be better had in private. Would it? Because Julian here seems incredibly confident about property law, and Chloe has already announced the house transition to her 600,000 Instagram followers. Seems pretty public to me. Chloe's face was ashen. Dad, what are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot I'd taken that morning. Her Instagram story, posted from my kitchen at 6:15 a.m, moving forward with family property decisions. So important to know when it's time to step aside. New chapter, natural growth, property goals. The post had already garnered hundreds of comments. Most were variations of Yas Queen, take what's yours, and boomers need to learn to make room for the next generation. Chloe, I said quietly, you posted this from my house this morning. She stared at the screen, speechless. The room was now completely silent. I was excited about our future. Our future. In my house. Julian cleared his throat. Art, maybe we should table this discussion for now. Why? You seemed so sure about inheritance law just 5 minutes ago. I glanced around the room, making eye contact with the 21 pairs of eyes that were now watching my daughter realize she had made a catastrophic and very public miscalculation. I think, I said, letting my voice fill the space, it's time everyone understood exactly what kind of inheritance we're really talking about. I walked to my office and returned with a single manila folder. Chloe watched me as if I were carrying a live explosive. Dad, what are you doing? What I should have done months ago. I dialed Eleanor Vance's number right there in front of everyone. She answered on the second ring. Eleanor, it's Art. I need you to walk me through a little hypothetical. In front of witnesses. Chloe looked like she was about to be physically ill. Dad, hang up the phone. Eleanor, I continued, if an individual purchased a property with their own funds nearly 20 years ago, and their adult child suddenly began claiming inheritance rights to that property, what would you call that? Eleanor's voice, crisp and professional, came through the speaker clear enough for those nearby to hear. I'd call it a potential case of fraud, depending on the specific actions taken. Diana Croft stepped forward. Arthur, I really must insist we discuss this privately. Mrs. Croft, your son and my daughter announced their plans to seize my home to a room full of people and 600,000 of their closest friends on social media. I think the privacy ship has sailed. Eleanor, I went on, what if that same child had their fiancé's father, a lawyer, draft legal papers threatening the actual owner with formal proceedings if they didn't voluntarily surrender the property? Art, that would depend on the exact language used, but it could certainly constitute attempted extortion. Julian went white as a sheet. Now wait just a minute. And Eleanor, I cut in, what if the actual owner of the property had documentation proving not only their sole purchase of the disputed property, but also their ownership of multiple other high-value properties that the claimant doesn't even know exist? The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Eleanor's voice suddenly sounded very interested. Art, are we finally talking about the Apex Coastal Properties portfolio? Apex Coastal Properties. The name hung in the air like a thunderclap. Chloe stared at me, her eyes wide with confusion. What's Apex Coastal Properties? Eleanor, could you please explain to everyone what Apex Coastal Properties is? Certainly. Apex Coastal Properties is a privately held luxury coastal real estate management firm founded 30 years ago. They own and operate over 200 premium rental properties in 16 states. The current portfolio is valued at approximately $90 million. Julian's mouth was opening and closing, but no sound was coming out. And Eleanor, I asked, delivering the final blow, who is the founder and CEO of Apex Coastal Properties? You are, Art. You're the sole owner. I hung up the phone. The silence that followed was so profound I could hear the waves crashing on the shore outside. Chloe's voice was barely a whisper. That's not possible. Which part isn't possible, honey? That you drive a 20-year-old truck? That you shop at Costco? You brought a $20 bottle of wine to my engagement party? I also happen to own the office building where Julian's father has his law firm. Julian made a small, choking sound. And the office building downtown where Diana's interior design firm is located. Diana Croft looked as if she'd just seen a ghost. And the hotel where you and Julian had your first date, the Seaside Grande. That's property number 47 in the Apex portfolio. Chloe collapsed onto the couch. This isn't real. I opened the folder I'd brought from my office, bank statements from First National Trust. As of yesterday, liquid assets total $92.7 million. I pulled out another document, Fortune magazine, the October 2022 issue, America's Invisible Titans of Real Estate. And there it was, my picture on page 63. They'd called me the Phantom of Pacific Property. Chloe snatched the magazine, her hands trembling. Property acquisition records for the last 20 years. 220 properties purchased, renovated and converted to luxury rentals. Average ROI, 32% annually. I pulled out my phone and opened an app. This is the Apex Coastal Properties Management Dashboard. Real-time occupancy rates, revenue tracking, maintenance schedules. Today's gross revenue, I scroll down, is $48,312. That's impossible, Julian stammered. You're a handyman. Chloe said you used to fix things for people. I still fix things, I said. I buy broken properties and I turn them into profitable assets. Chloe, remember when you asked where the money comes from to pay the property taxes on this house? She nodded numbly. This house generates $14,000 a month in rental income when you're not staying here, which, as it happens, is most of the time. Chloe just stared at me. Rental income? The guest cottage out back? The one you love to use for your Instagram shoots? That's a separate rental unit. It goes for $4,000 a month. Your photographer friend Mia has been staying there all summer. She pays her rent through the Apex booking system. Mia pays rent. Mia pays a premium. Apex property, private beach access, proximity to celebrity homes. It's very popular with content creators. Julian finally found his voice. If all this is true, why do you live like what, Julian? Like someone who doesn't feel the need to prove his net worth with flashy cars and designer labels? Diana Croft was reading the Fortune article over Chloe's shoulder, her face a mask of disbelief. Thomas Art Sterling, founder and CEO of Apex Coastal Properties, estimated net worth $90 million. Known for his low-profile lifestyle and hands-on management style. She looked up at me, her eyes wide. You're the Phantom of Pacific Property. I prefer Art. But yes, Chloe was staring at the bank statements. Dad, why didn't you ever tell me? Because you never asked, I said simply. You assumed. You saw an old truck and cheap shirts, and you decided you knew everything there was to know about my financial situation. But I'm your daughter. I should have known. Should you have? Chloe, when was the last time you asked me a single question about my work? About my day? My plans? About anything at all? She opened her mouth, then closed it. The room waited with me. 21 people, watching my daughter come to the horrifying realization that she knew nothing about her own father's life. Finally, she whispered, "I don't remember." "Neither do I said. What she would find on my desk the next morning would nearly break her. Chloe left the party without another word. She took Julian with her, both of them looking like they'd just walked away from a car crash. The rest of the guests made their excuses and were gone within 20 minutes. By 10 p.m., I was alone in my house, surrounded by 24 empty wine glasses and the quiet satisfaction of watching entitled people realize their assumptions had very real consequences. At 11:30 p.m., my phone began buzzing with Instagram notifications. Chloe had gone live. I opened the app and found myself watching my daughter have a complete and total meltdown in real time. She was in her Porsche, parked on the side of some dark road I didn't recognize, with tears streaming down her face as her 600,000 followers typed comments at lightning speed. "You guys, I don't even know where to begin. My entire life has been a lie. My dad, my DAD, has been pretending to be poor this whole time." The comments exploded. "What? OMG. Chloe, spill everything. Like, he's apparently worth $90 million. $90 million? And he let me believe he was some broke retiree who could barely afford to keep his house." More comments flooded in. "That's actually insane. Why would he hide that from you? Rich dads are the worst." Chloe wiped her nose on the sleeve of her expensive sweater. "He owns like 200 properties. He's been in Fortune magazine. Fortune. And I've been picking up the check at dinner because I thought he couldn't afford it." The viewer count was climbing. 43,000 people were now watching my daughter publicly self-destruct. And the worst part? He's been charging people rent to stay in our house. Our house. Like, my photographer Mia. She's been paying $4,000 a month to stay in the guest house. $4,000, and my dad never told me. Julian appeared in the frame, looking exhausted and defeated. "Babe, maybe you shouldn't be..." "No, Julian. My followers deserve to know what kind of family they've been supporting. My dad deliberately deceived me. He made me look like a complete idiot in front of your parents. 48,000 viewers now. And you know what else? He was testing me. This whole time, he was watching me make all these assumptions about his money, letting me plan my whole future around inheriting his house and just waiting for me to show him what kind of person I really am." She was openly sobbing now, and I failed. I completely and totally failed. I tried to steal my own father's house because I thought he was too poor and too stupid to do anything about it. The comments were now a mix of sympathy and total shock. Some people defended her. "He should have told you. Parents shouldn't test their kids like that." Others were merciless. "You tried to steal his house. This is the definition of entitlement. Your dad sounds like a legend. Julian's dad sent legal papers to my father." Legal papers? Threatening him if he didn't give up his own house. And my dad just let us do it. He let us make complete fools of ourselves. 52,000 viewers. Julian tried again. "Chloe, please, just turn off the camera." "Why?" "So we can all pretend this never happened. So I can go back to posting about my perfect, curated life while my dad secretly thinks I'm a greedy, entitled monster." She looked directly into the camera lens. "Because that's what I am. I'm exactly the kind of person who would try to steal her own father's house because she thought he couldn't afford a lawyer to stop her." The comments were getting nastier. "This is so cringe. Delete this while you still can, girl. Your dad dodged a bullet. You know what the really sick part is? He pays for it all. Everything. My apartment, my car, my credit card, my entire lifestyle. And I let myself believe I deserved it, that he was just some lucky guy who inherited one house." 57,000 viewers. I posted this morning about family property decisions and people needing to step aside. I told 500,000 people that my poor old dad needed to make room for me. And all of you cheered me on because you thought I was some girl boss taking back what was rightfully mine. She held up her phone, showing her story from that morning. "Look at these comments. Look at what I encouraged people to say about my own father." The live stream comments were getting worse. "Chloe, this is genuinely painful to watch. Girl, stop. Your career is over. This is just sad." 23 people watched me try to humiliate my dad tonight, and instead, I humiliated myself. In front of Julian's entire family, in front of everyone who matters in our social circle, Julian was practically pleading, "Chloe, please, just end the stream. Julian, your parents think my dad is a deadbeat. Your father tried to intimidate him with legal threats. Your mother offered to help pay his moving expenses because she thought he was too poor to do it himself. 61,000 viewers. And my dad just stood there and let it happen. He could have stopped it at any moment. He could have pulled out the Fortune article or his bank statements or his business cards, but he didn't. He let us show him exactly who we are." Chloe looked utterly exhausted. "He let me show 500,000 people what I'm really like when I think no one important is watching." The comments had turned sympathetic again. "Chloe, you're having a breakdown. Please get help. Call your dad. This isn't healthy. I don't know how to fix this," she whispered. "I don't know how you apologize for trying to steal someone's house. I don't know how to tell my followers that every post I've ever made about my life has been built on a foundation of lies." She wiped her eyes. "My dad owns the hotel where Julian and I had our first date. He owns the building where Julian's father works. He probably owns half the damn places I've ever tagged on Instagram." The viewer count hit 64,000, and I called him worthless. I called him a loser. I told him he didn't deserve to live in his own house. Chloe looked directly into the camera one last time. "If you're watching this, Dad, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. And I understand if you can never forgive me." She ended the stream. 64,000 people had just watched my daughter detonate her own reputation in real time. By sunrise, the life she thought she knew was over. Chloe showed up at my house at 6:15 the next morning. I was on the deck with a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise, when I heard her Porsche pull into the driveway. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week. Her Instagram Live meltdown had been clipped, remixed, and shared across every social media platform imaginable. There were TikTok compilations, Twitter threads, and YouTube reaction videos. My daughter's breakdown had gone spectacularly viral in the worst way possible. "Dad?" I turned. Chloe was standing in the doorway, still in yesterday's clothes, holding a phone with a spiderweb of cracks across the screen. "Can we talk?" "Of course." She sat in the chair across from me, her gaze fixed on the ocean. "How long have you been up?" "Since 4. I always watch the sunrise. Every day I'm here." "For 20 years. She was quiet for a long time. Then, "Dad, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay. Last night, when you showed everyone the documents and called your lawyer and pulled out the Fortune article, was any of that planned?" I took a slow sip of my coffee. "What do you mean, planned?" "I mean, did you know? Did you know Julian and I were going to try to take the house? Did you let it happen just so you could humiliate us like that?" I looked at her. "Chloe, did you plan to try to take my house?" "No, well, yes. I mean, we thought it was the logical next step." "And when did it start to seem logical?" She looked down at her hands. "When Julian's parents suggested it. They said you were probably struggling to keep up with expenses and you were too proud to ask for help. They said the responsible thing to do was to take over the property before you got into real financial trouble. And you believed them?" "I wanted to believe them," she admitted quietly. "It felt like I was taking care of you, like I was finally being the adult." I set my coffee mug down. "Chloe, how much do you think it costs to maintain this house per year?" "I don't know." "A lot?" "Guess, 100,000, closer to 180,000. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, landscaping, security, plus the management of the guest house, the cleaning services for rental turnovers, the repairs." Chloe just stared at me. "You've been paying almost $200,000 a year. For 20 years, some years more, some less. Depends on what breaks. That's almost $4 million. $3.6 million to be precise," I said. "I keep very detailed records." Chloe fumbled with her cracked phone, opening the calculator app. Her fingers were shaking as she typed. "Dad, if you've spent that much just on this house, how much money do you actually have?" "More than $4 million. How much more?" I stood up and walked into my office. Chloe followed me. The documents from last night were still on my desk, but I opened a different filing cabinet. This one was packed with color-coded folders, organized by year and property type. "These are the acquisition records," I said, pulling out a thick folder labeled 1994 to 2000. I started Apex Coastal Properties in 1994 with a $40,000 down payment on a foreclosed duplex in Venice Beach. Chloe picked up a deed, 38 Windward Avenue. Purchase price, $160,000. "That duplex is worth $1.2 million today," I said. "It brings in $14,000 a month in rental income." I pulled out another folder, 2013 to 2016. This was the major expansion phase. 27 properties, all foreclosures or distressed sales. Average purchase price, $400,000. Current average value, $1.8 million. Chloe was reading the deeds as if they were written in a language she was just beginning to understand. "Dad, how many properties do you own?" "As of yesterday morning, 220. 220 properties," she repeated, stunned. "Beach houses, mountain cabins, city lofts, suburban rentals. Apex has assets in California, Oregon, Hawaii, Florida, the Carolinas. 16 states in total." Chloe sank into my desk chair. "How is that even possible?" "Compound interest, reinvesting every dollar, and a lot of very, very long days." I opened my laptop and pulled up the Apex portal. This is our central nervous system. It handles all bookings, payments, maintenance requests, and guest communications for all 220 properties. The screen displayed a real-time dashboard. Current occupancy rate, 87%. Today's projected revenue, $51,436. This week's revenue to date, $312,890. Chloe stared at the screen. "Dad, that says you've made over $300,000 this week. It's a good week." "Summer vacation season. In 1 week, you made more money than most people make in 5 years." "Chloe, I've been making this kind of money for 15 years. Where did you think it was all going?" She looked around my simple office, the plain desk, the basic computer, the utilitarian filing cabinets. "I thought you were just organized." "I am organized. Extremely. It's the only way to manage 220 properties without going insane." I opened another folder. These are the Fortune interviews. They've profiled me 3 times. The invisible moguls of real estate, America's stealth landlords, and the millionaires next door you'd never recognize. Chloe picked up the most recent article. The headline read, "Arthur Sterling, the $90 million man who drives a $5,000 truck." "They interviewed me for 6 hours," I said. "They wanted to understand how someone could build this kind of wealth while living a completely normal life." Chloe read the article in silence. Then she looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "Dad, this article calls you one of the most successful and ethical real estate entrepreneurs on the West Coast. It says you've created over 400 jobs and generated more than $12 million in local tax revenue." "Property management is a people-intensive business," I said. "Cleaning crews, maintenance teams, landscapers, security firms, local contractors. It says you've never taken a salary from Apex, that you reinvest every single penny back into the business and into employee benefits. Why would I need a salary? The business covers everything I need." Chloe's eyes scanned the article again. "Dad, it says here you've been anonymously funding college scholarships for the children of your employees. Good employees are the most valuable asset you can have. Investing in their families is just good business." "How much?" she asked, her voice cracking. "How much what? How much have you spent on scholarships?" I pulled out another folder. $843,000 over the last 10 years. 47 kids so far. We've got engineers, teachers, nurses. 2 of them work for Apex now. Chloe was crying openly now. "Dad, I tried to steal your house." "You tried to steal one of my houses," I corrected her gently. "How many houses do you own that I don't know about?" I allowed myself a small smile. "Chloe, you know about 2 of my properties, this house and your apartment building. I own them both, plus 218 others. You own my apartment building? Bought it 3 years ago. The previous owner was about to jack up the rents and kick out all the long-term tenants. I thought you'd be more comfortable if I was in control of your living situation." Chloe put her head in her hands. "Oh my God. Chloe, there's something else you need to know. She looked up, her face pale. I don't own these properties anymore. What do you mean? She whispered. I mean, I sold them. Yesterday. Both this house and your apartment building. You sold my apartment. I sold everything you thought was yours, I said. Chloe stared at me in absolute, total shock. The new owners take possession at noon today. At exactly 7 a.m., my phone rang. It was Michael Chen, my VP of Operations. Art, it's done. Both properties sold to the Harrison Development Group. Wire transfers cleared 23 minutes ago. 6.4 million total. Cash deal, no contingencies. I put him on speaker. Chloe listened, her mouth agape. Michael, can you confirm the timeline for me? Sale contracts executed at 6:07 a.m. Property transfers filed with the county registrar at 6:31 a.m. Harrison's attorneys are prepping the possession notices as we speak. They should be served by 10 a.m. And the third property, I asked. Chloe looked bewildered. Third property? The Oceanfront Towers apartment complex where Chloe lives, Michael clarified. Sale finalized at 6:54 a.m. Monsieur Harrison paid $8.2 million. Also a cash deal. Chloe shot to her feet so fast her chair tipped over. You sold my apartment building. Harrison Development Group is the Croft family's biggest competitor, Michael continued, oblivious. They were extremely motivated to acquire prime coastal assets, especially ones that have been off the market for this long. I smiled. Michael, can you explain to Chloe what Harrison plans to do with the properties? Complete renovation and repositioning. The beach house is slated to become a private corporate retreat center. The apartment building is being converted into luxury condos with a 60-day tenant relocation timeline. Chloe grabbed my arm. Dad, that means I have to move out in 60 days. That is what it means, I confirmed. But where am I supposed to go? That's an excellent question, Chloe. Where do you plan to go? She looked panicked. I don't know. I don't have any money saved. You pay for everything. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Chloe, look at this. I showed her the screen. Chloe Sterling Trust Fund. Balance, $0. What happened to my trust fund? You never had a trust fund. You had a monthly allowance that I personally transferred from my business account. $10,000 for rent, $3,000 for expenses, $2,000 for discretionary spending. $15,000 a month, every month for 7 years. Chloe did the math on her phone. Dad, that's over $1 million. $1.26 million to be exact. And where is it going to come from now? It's not, I said. Chloe stared at me. What do you mean? I mean the monthly transfers end today. Your apartment lease is being terminated in 60 days. Your car lease will be terminated as soon as this month's payment fails to go through. Your credit cards will be cancelled when the autopay accounts are closed. Dad, you can't just cut me off. Not completely, can't I? Chloe's phone started buzzing. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. It's Julian. Answer it. She swiped to accept the call and put it on speaker. Julian's voice was frantic and furious. Chloe, what the hell did your father do? My dad just got a call from Harrison Development. They own our properties now. All of them. I know, Julian. He sold them. He sold them to our biggest rivals. Do you have any idea what this means for my family's business? Chloe looked at me, helpless. Julian, I'm sorry. I didn't know he was going to. Sorry? Chloe, Harrison just acquired a portfolio of prime coastal real estate that my family has been trying to get their hands on for 10 years. Your father did this deliberately to hurt us. Actually, I said, speaking loudly enough for Julian to hear, I sold to them because they offered me my full asking price in cash with a 12-hour close. Business is business, son. Julian's voice turned nasty. Art, this is incredibly petty. You're punishing Chloe because you got your feelings hurt. Julian, Chloe tried to steal my house. Your father threatened me with legal action. Your mother offered to pay my moving expenses because she thought I was a charity case. Which part of that behavior do you think I should be rewarding? We were trying to help Chloe secure her future by taking property that didn't belong to her, property that should have been hers eventually. According to whom? Julian was quiet for a moment. Then, look, Art, maybe we can work something out. My father has connections. We can arrange for Chloe to get financing, buy something else. With what income? I asked. Her influencer income, brand partnerships, sponsored posts. Chloe winced. Julian, I lost 30,000 followers last night. My brand deals are getting cancelled. Nobody wants to be associated with the girl who tried to steal her dad's house. What do you mean you lost followers? Chloe showed me her phone. Her Instagram account, which had boasted over 600,000 followers, now showed 423,000 and was dropping by the second. My Instagram live from last night, it's been turned into compilation videos entitled "Influencer Tries to Steal Dad's House." Rich girl meltdown goes viral. When privilege meets reality, they're all over the internet. Julian was silent for a long, heavy moment. Then, Chloe, I think we need to take a break. What kind of a break? The kind where we don't see each other for a while. My parents are furious about the Harrison deal. This whole situation has gotten too complicated. Chloe's voice got very small. Julian, are you breaking up with me? I'm saying I need space to figure out how to explain to my family that my fiancé's father just sold a 9-figure real estate portfolio to our biggest competitor. But we're engaged. We were engaged before your father declared war on my family's business. I took the phone from Chloe. Julian, I didn't declare war on anyone. I sold assets to the highest bidder who met my terms. If that negatively impacts your family's business, perhaps your family should have made a better offer. Art, this isn't over. Actually, it is. Chloe is no longer my financial responsibility, which means she is no longer your convenient access point to Apex Coastal Properties. I'd advise your family to start scouting for real estate investments elsewhere. I hung up the phone. Chloe stared at her screen as if it had personally betrayed her. Dad, Julian just broke up with me. I heard. Because of what you did. Because of what we both did, Chloe. The difference is, I did it on purpose. Chloe started to cry again. Dad, I have nowhere to go. You have 60 days to figure that out. With no money, no job, and no fiancé. Welcome to adulthood, I said. The eviction notice was served at precisely 10 a.m. by a young lawyer from Harrison Development who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on earth. Chloe signed for it with a trembling hand as I watched from the kitchen. By noon, the story had transcended social media and hit the mainstream. The local news ran with it first. Seacliff mogul sells $14.6 million in real estate following viral family feud. Then, the industry blogs picked it up. Apex CEO executes stunning revenge sale to rival Harrison Group. Chloe's phone had not stopped ringing. Reporters, bloggers, former brand partners, and friends who suddenly wanted to check in and get the inside scoop. She turned it off after the 5th call from someone claiming to be from TMZ. Dad, there are photographers outside. I glanced out the front window. 3 cars were parked across the street, telephoto lenses aimed at my house. They want pictures of the house that launched 1,000 memes, I said. You're famous now. This isn't the kind of famous I ever wanted to be. Chloe's Instagram account was hemorrhaging followers, down to 387,000 and still falling. The comments on her old posts were a war zone. Her brand partnership cancellation emails were coming in faster than she could read them. Fashion Nova, Revolve, Daniel Wellington, Athletic Greens, all severed ties within 6 hours. Dad, Sugar Bear Hair just terminated my contract. They said my actions no longer align with their brand values. And what were your brand values when you were trying to steal my house? Chloe winced. I wasn't thinking about brand values. I was thinking about... I don't even know what I was thinking about. You were thinking about what you wanted, I said. And you assumed you could just take it. Her phone buzzed with a text from her assistant. Sophia says Revolve wants their clothes back. All of it. The stuff they sent for content creation. They're sending a courier. How much clothing is that? Maybe $15,000 worth. I have to send back everything I haven't posted yet, and even some things I have. I watched as Chloe began to sort through her closet, pulling out designer pieces with little paper tags still attached, indicating which brand had sent them. Chloe, I asked, how much of this wardrobe actually belongs to you? She stopped folding a jacket. What do you mean? I mean, how much of the clothing in this closet did you purchase with your own money? Chloe looked around the room as if seeing it for the very first time. I don't know. Most of this is from brand partnerships, or it's stuff you bought for me. Show me something you paid for yourself. Chloe rummaged through her closet for several long minutes. Finally, she held up a pair of jeans. These. I bought these at Target 2 years ago. They were $39. Anything else? She kept looking. She found a sweater from H&M, some underwear, a few old t-shirts. The total value of her personally owned wardrobe was maybe $200. Chloe, you are 27 years old and you own $200 worth of clothing that you actually paid for. Everything else was a gift, or it was free. Nothing is free, I said softly. Someone always pays. She sat down on the edge of her bed, surrounded by piles of clothes that had to be returned to companies that no longer wanted anything to do with her. Dad, I don't know how to live without money. Most people figure it out. Most people didn't grow up with a secret $90 million father. Most people don't try to steal their father's house either. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from her best friend, Olivia. Chloe, oh my God, are you okay? I just saw the news. Chloe put the call on speaker. Which news, Olivia? All of it. The Instagram live, the property sale, the breakup with Julian. It's literally everywhere. People are calling it the biggest influencer implosion of the year. Olivia, I don't know what to do. Babe, you need to go dark. Just disappear for a while. Let it all blow over. Maybe go stay with your dad until things quiet down? Chloe looked at me. Olivia, I can't stay with my dad. He sold the house. He sold your house? He sold both houses. This one and my apartment building. I have to move out in 60 days. Olivia was quiet for a moment. Chloe, do you need a place to stay? I have no money, Liv. Dad cut me off. Completely. What do you mean, cut you off? I mean, no more allowance, no credit cards, nothing. I have like $300 in my checking account. Oh shit. And Julian broke up with me and all my brand deals are gone and I'm going to be internet famous for all the wrong reasons for the next year. Olivia's voice got very careful. Chloe, maybe you should just apologize to your dad? I tried. He's not listening. I spoke up. Chloe, I am listening. I'm just not rescuing. Dad, what's the difference? The difference, Chloe, is that listening means I hear what you're saying. Rescuing means I solve your problems for you. I am done solving your problems. Chloe started to cry again. But I don't know how to fix them myself. Then you had better learn. By that evening, the story had made national news. CNN ran a segment called When Family Fortunes Go Wrong. Fox Business did a piece on millennial inheritance entitlement. The New York Post ran a headline that screamed, "Daughter demands dad's $4 million house, gets evicted instead." Chloe's Instagram meltdown had been viewed over 2 million times across all platforms. Someone had turned it into a TikTok sound that was trending with videos of other people's family arguments. She had become a living, breathing cautionary tale. Dad, I'm going to be remembered forever as the girl who tried to steal her dad's house. That's up to you, I said. What do you mean? I mean, you can be the girl who tried to steal her dad's house. Or you can be the girl who learned something from it and became a better person because of it. Chloe looked at me. How do I become the second one? You start by figuring out how to live on $300 until you can earn more. She stared at the balance on her banking app. Dad, how long do I have to do this for? For as long as it takes. 3 weeks later, Chloe showed up at my house again. But this time, she was different. She was wearing the Target jeans and the H&M sweater, two of the only items of clothing that were truly hers. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no professional blowout. Her nails were unpolished. She looked like a normal 27-year-old, not a curated online personality. Dad? Can we talk? Of course. She sat down in the same chair on the deck where we'd had our conversation 3 weeks prior. But the entire world felt different. I got a job, she said. Oh? It's at a coffee shop in Santa Monica. Minimum wage. But it's a start. I begin on Monday. How did you find it? I walked in and asked if they were hiring, she said with a small, wry smile. Turns out, it's that simple when you're not too proud to work. Chloe pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. I wrote something. I wanted to read it to you. Okay. She unfolded the paper. Her hands were steady this time. Dad, 3 weeks ago, I tried to steal your house because I honestly believed I deserved it more than you did. I saw you as a failure who got lucky once, and I saw myself as a success who was being held back. I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. She looked up at me, then back down at her paper. I spent 27 years taking everything you ever gave me, and I never once stopped to ask what it cost you. Not just in money, but in time, in energy, in choices you didn't get to make because you were too busy taking care of me. I never said thank you because I thought I was entitled to it all. Chloe's voice grew stronger, more confident. I've learned something in these past 3 weeks. I learned that I don't actually know how to do anything. I don't know how to budget money because I never had to. I don't know how to cook because I always ordered out. I don't know how to clean because there was always a service. And I don't know how to solve my own problems because you always solved them for me. She folded the paper and looked me straight in the eye. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking for money or help or anything. I'm just asking for a chance to learn how to be someone you could actually be proud of. Chloe, what does that look like to you? I don't know yet, she said honestly, but I know what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like trying to take things that aren't mine. It doesn't look like expecting other people to pay for my choices. And it doesn't look like treating you like you owe me something just for being my father. She stood up. I know you probably can't forgive me yet, and I know saying I'm sorry doesn't fix what I did. But I wanted you to know that I get it now. I understand why you did what you did. What do you understand? You didn't punish me, she said. You taught me. You showed me the real cost of my choices. And you gave me a chance to find out who I am when nobody is paying my way. I looked at my daughter. I really looked at her. And for the first time in a very long time, I saw someone I recognized. Chloe, I said, would you like to have dinner next week? Her face lit up. Really? But you're paying. She laughed, a real, genuine laugh. Dad, I make minimum wage now. Then we're going somewhere that serves minimum wage food. Deal, she said. Chloe walked toward the door, then turned back. Dad? Thank you. For everything. Even the hard parts. Especially the hard parts, I said. After she left, I sat on my deck and watched the sun go down. Tomorrow, I'd start looking for a new house for myself. Something smaller, simpler. Something that felt more like a home and less like an asset. But tonight, for the first time in years, I felt like I had finally done something right as a father. If you've listened to this story, please let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And always remember, sometimes the greatest gift you can ever give someone is the chance to earn what they mistakenly believed they were owed. End of story.